Welcome back to the Creatively Curious podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walter. In this little, maybe mini episode, I'm going to talk about an experience that I had with it was actually like a weight loss challenge last week with Jen Powter, the Smart Weight Loss Challenge. Now, I realize that's not really anything to do with creativity, or is it? If we felt better and less tired and stronger, would we show up more creatively? We'll see. But my intention for this podcast is to pass on things that I have found helpful in my life that I hope you will find helpful as well. And this topic has been um it's been on my mind probably. So my son will be 5 on the weekend, so it's been 5 years since I had him. That was at the start of the pandy 2020 April, or I guess it started in March, so it was a month into it. And I mean, obviously we all know what that felt like. It was pretty stressful. We also unfortunately lost our dog. We ended up having to put him down, like literally March 13th, 2020, and then like life shut down. I can't even talk about it because oh no, the emotion, I get emotional. I had him for 16 years. He was a big part of my life before I got married or had kids. Yikes. Are you allowed to get emotional on a podcast? I'm not sure. Ooh, I'll take a deep breath. So anyway, lots was happening at that time. My son was my second child. We had a fertility journey, so there was lots, we had lots of losses. He is an IVF baby. So not that that necessarily means anything, but we went through that process. And, finally he came into our lives. And then the pandy, and then everything was shut down. And with my daughter, I was able to do something here. It was called stroller size at our one of our like city gyms. And that was just a real lifesaver for me to get out. And we'd literally take our babies in the running strollers and run through the ravine in the summer. We'd run around the track in the winter. We'd do weights. And, my weight came off pretty quickly, pretty easily. I didn't even have to think about it. I've always been an athlete, so like I've always um I haven't played sports since my 20s because I ended up having an injury playing soccer. So I had my first knee surgery in my late 20s. But I've always been a runner, I bike, I'm active. So that's just kind of part of my identity, right? So it's been easy for me to pick up, extra activity if, like, after my knee surgery, for instance, I had gained some weight because I wasn't as active. And then when it was safe to do so, then I trained for a half marathon, and, weight came off. So I guess my point is, is that for me, I haven't had a long history, or like, since I was like, so some of these people had histories of dieting even when they were 8 years old. So I didn't have that, but I still can relate to kind of having weird food things in my life. And then since like the weight that I kind of put on with my son wasn't really coming off as easily, um, that was kind of a concern. And I just kept thinking, well, it'll come off and I just have to get more active and run. But then my knees kind of hurting me because at that point I had had a total of 3 surgeries for my knee. ACL reconstruction was my first one, and then some meniscus tears and ligaments. And so it was starting to actually bother me. Like I would run, but I couldn't run as often. I couldn't run as far. I'd really have to ice it. And then I ended up actually having an injury 2 years ago when I was doing some squats and like heavier squats with a barbell, which I had done. I had been doing like even previous to being pregnant. So I didn't think there was anything wrong with doing those squats. And I don't even really know what happened. I came up from one of the squats and my knee really, really hurt. And so I stopped doing that and kind of rested. And then unfortunately, kind of pushed through, did some lunges. And then my knee was just not a happy, happy knee. It was totally got swollen, could barely walk on it, could barely do the stairs. Anyway, long story short, I went to a physio who was less than helpful, told me that was just how my knee was. And I thought, no, something's not right. Something is not right here. And so this is a lesson to every, for sure, woman around, um, to really listen to yourself and advocate for yourself. So I just thought, no, I'm not accepting that. And so I went to a different physio, female this time, and she listened to me, surprise, surprise, and heard what I was saying. And luckily was associated with there's a sports medicine clinic here. And so she referred me to one of those doctors, and turns out I have severe arthritis in my knee because of the initial injury and the subsequent surgeries. And I had these weird, like loose bodies, they called them. I want to call them foreign bodies, but my body made them. I'm so creative. I made these little bits and pieces, but actually, some of them were really big. I think one was almost an inch, and that one was really bothering my knee. So, anyway, there were three of them. I had surgery just over a year ago to remove those. And my recovery has been slower than I would have liked. And so now I have more compassion for the patients that I see, because who knows? I guess I don't like to play the H card, but sure, let's play the H card. I also have two kids, so I can't really just head off to the gym when I want to. You know, I, I work out at home because it's just easier and more convenient for me. So anyway, long story short, I will not be running anymore. It's just will be too hard on my knee. And so I actually had this belief, interestingly, that I probably won't be able to lose the weight if I can't run, because I've always used running as my way to lose weight. And that's one of the things that Jen talked about is you cannot, and I've heard it obviously from other sources, like you cannot run off your extra weight, which, if you're overeating, if you're eating too much for your size and frame, then that probably will be harder. And I think in my case, what my light bulb moment was, I think I'm still eating the same amount that I was eating before without then all of my activity. And potentially adding, she talks about, so I'll kind of get into some of the key things that she talks about. So density versus volume. So volume being lots and lots, and she had examples. It was really beautiful. You might be able to buy, um, I ended up purchasing the VIP, so you can get the recordings, and then there were extra kind of talks. Maybe a person could even buy those, but I'll link to her information. So volume being like vegetables, so spinach, cabbage, any sort of vegetable. You can eat, and I can't remember what she compared it to, but there was like this huge bowl of spinach that you could eat for the same calories as, I don't know, like a donut or something like that. So probably wouldn't have even been a donut. And then density. So volume, you get lots and lots of food coming in, but not a lot of impact. So low calories. And then density is small amount of food, big energy, high calories. So like cheese, crackers, almonds, um, any sweet thing. Um, so just to keep that in mind. And what I really liked about her was like, it's not that you can't have those things. Everyone probably likes cheese unless you're lactose intolerant like me. Everyone likes cookies, everyone likes brownies, everyone likes the caramel macchiato or whatever it is that you get from Starbucks. And if you're continually just eating high density food, the calories are so high that then what is your body going to do? It's going to store the extra energy as fat. So she, and she talked about like mobilizing the fat, which I kind of like that image. Like I just imagine my little fat cells like getting together, and I don't know, like I feel like they have sticks and they're like getting together to go play and get off my body. So that was one of the key things. Consistency is key. Like I hear that from the street parking that I do. Consistency is key. So if you're exercising regularly, you're going to see more benefit than if you're kind of periodically, one week I do one thing, the next week I do another thing. And so the same thing is true with eating, is that let's just be consistent. So lots of veg, healthy proteins, carbs, little bit of fat, and that's just how you live. That's your lifestyle. So yeah, so she said fat is stored energy on your body waiting to get off. So it's just energy. It's just we've consumed more energy than our body needs to survive and to do whatever activities we're doing. And so it stores it as fat that we can use later. And I mean, when you think about it, back in the day when we were hunter gatherers, that was good because food wasn't always available like it is now for us. And so we needed that this system so that if we didn't have enough food to eat, then we could rely on our fat. And then when things were really good and we had lots of food, then we could eat lots and store the fat again. So it makes sense. And um like ultimately too, it's kind of like it's really hard in this world when food is available all the time, and like high density food is available, like fries and burgers and stuff like that. So um let's see, she said some things too, like fat cells don't care if you're sad or had a bad day. They store if you overeat. They just store the fat if you overeat. It's like facts. She'd say that, like there's facts. And food is neutral. It's a source of nourishment. It fuels our body. Food is fuel. So, um, and then she did say too, like water, you hear that, oh, drink more water. And I kind of thought I was drinking lots of water, but I started to track it and I wasn't drinking enough water. And I do feel better, less tired in the afternoon because I'm assuming it's not a randomized controlled trial, but I think maybe I'm eating more vegetables and I'm drinking more water. So let's see. She says be a volume eater and pay attention to the density. So minimum of 4 cups of vegetables, leafy greens, sliced veggies. She says prep 1 meal a day. Every meal should have protein. She says 3 ounces of protein plus a snack with protein. I'm doing, of course, I have to do things my own way. I'm doing 4 ounces of protein for each meal, 3 meals, and not a snack. I don't usually do a snack. So, um, and I want my muscle. And then prep 1 meal a day. Um, and I liked her questions. Like obviously she's a coach, so she has good questions. What would you need to believe if you were successful and become the woman who loses the weight today? Who do I need to be? What do I need to think? How do I need to feel? And I loved how she said, my success is inevitable as long as I don't give up and quit. And she says, losing the weight is the easy part. Like, that's the easy part. It's the emotional piece that I think a lot of women, well, it's sort of people in general, our society, we rely on food a lot, like to celebrate and to comfort and to treat and to reward and stuff like that. So it's like kind of changing that idea of food and just saying like food is my fuel. And one key piece too is she said we're kitty cats. No, I'm 5'6". She works with a lot of people who are petite, so 5'3" and under. But still, we're not we're not huge, we're not Olympians, we're not, lifting super heavy weights all day long. So we're kitty cats and we're living in a lion's world and we're eating like lions. And I think for sure that was me. And it's kind of nice to think I can eat whatever I want. Maybe if you're running all day long, and maybe you can, and that's cool if you can. That's awesome. Um, I I I guess I just came to the realization that I cannot do that. And that was one of her main lessons, is like we're just eating too much. It's, food's good, we get it, but we just don't need to eat as much unless it's vegetables. I think you can eat probably, although she did give an example of somebody who was eating just like way too much, like that mixed veggie bag. Again, that was one example, but I guess there can be too much of anything, so you just have to be mindful of that. Um, what else can I tell you? Oh, impacts on our metabolism. So that's one of the things too, that, and I listened to a podcast about this. It's just not true. Our metabolism stays the same, I believe, since we're like 20 to like 65 or something. So it's just not true that our metabolism slows down. People say that, people pretend that that is the reason, but basically we're not as active as we were, and then our muscle decreases. So because you're not as active, your muscle decreases, and your muscle mass will affect your metabolism. Your size, your height, your gender, your body composition. So the bigger you are, obviously, the more you can eat. The smaller you are, the less you can eat. The more muscle you have, that's your body composition. Muscle requires more calories to burn than fat. So I think we've all heard that. And that's one of the big things now with women in their 40s and older, is to hold on to that muscle or to try to build it, which I've noticed has been more of a challenge for me in my late 40s since this knee surgery. I'm just starting now, a year later, to feel some strength in my knee, and now my knee feels better, less painful. And so I'm still wanting to continue to do that for sure, but it's been a challenge. It's been a real challenge for me. So the more you can hold on to that muscle, the better. She says 70% of our calories goes to basic body functions like breathing, your heart beating, um, just living. 10% goes to thermogenesis, so breaking down the food, and 20% is for exercise if you're super active. So really, a lot of it goes to just living in our bodies. And if you go over your budget, your food budget for the day consistently, you will accumulate fat. Um, we don't need to eat as much as we think we eat. She recommends, it's basically kind of like the Canadian food guide. I'm sure there's an American one where I believe half the plate is vegetables. You have like a palm size protein, thumb size fat, and like an open hand cup of carbs. So she talked about that a lot. So just using that kind of visual guide, potentially you could weigh. So I think that's activating for some people. Um, so you can just do like the visual, and then, if you have a treat, you have a treat. Like you have a cookie. Because I asked that. My daughter's baking a lot right now. Um, and it's like, just don't have one every day. Have one every now and then. And we have to show up for ourselves like we do for others. So food is our fuel. This I'm actually I'm a pretty fast eater. I'm usually like just shoveling the food in and moving on to the next thing. So she says, chew your food really well. It should take 20 minutes to eat a meal. Take a bite and then put your fork down. And that definitely does not happen with me. I just want to get it in and move on. So I've been really trying to slow down. I have to remind myself to put my fork down. Chew, chew. It's easy to, not easy, but when you're eating a massive salad, you got to chew that sucker, and that does take a while. So, um, are my actions aligned with where I'm going? So that's where that goal is. Like, because I've even, as a life coach, I've coached people on their weight, and that's what they say. Like, I don't want to deprive myself. I don't want to deprive myself. It's kind of like, well, what's your goal? Like, what is your goal? And it's not about depriving. It's about like, what are you giving yourself with the extra water, the extra vegetables and fruits with micronutrients? Like, what are you giving yourself? How good are you going to feel? And then what are you choosing? Like you can, it's not, we're not saying no sugar, like bright line eating. I tried that. It's like no sugar, no this, no that. It's like way too many rules for me. And I just kind of went nuts with it. So you can just say, I'm choosing that for later. But like if your goal is to lose weight and to mobilize the fat, then you make different choices and you take different actions. So if I want food to do an emotional job, I will continue to be fat or overweight, however you want to look at it. It's kind of harsh, but like I think it's true. And like what if you're having feelings about something, what are other ways that you can cope with that? So journaling, walking, bath, music, talking to a friend, talking to your spouse, um, getting creative, going and drawing, painting, dancing, uh does somebody give me one, like anything, that knitting, crocheting, doing a puzzle, collaging, I love collaging, any of the above. Well, like going for a bike ride, playing with your kids. In order to change, you have to believe that it's worth it. You've got to believe you are capable, which you are, and you are worth it, and you have to be willing to start now. And what's your next best step? She says, believe it before you can see it. I think that's like that Wayne Dyer, believe it and then you will see it. And then also focusing on non-scale victories. So like for me, if my weight didn't change, but I was leaner, like I do have fat in places I don't really want to have fat. If I were leaner and I felt better, my clothes felt better, I really wouldn't care what the scale said, because I feel like then I'd just be solid muscle, which would be awesome. So, um, and then be process oriented instead of outcome oriented. So the process is just like that way of eating, that way of being, that's your lifestyle. And then it's that emotional piece. So the symptom is being overweight, the problem is emotional eating and using food to cope. Um, and maybe like just also not being aware of even that density versus the volume. Like I feel like that could be true for a lot of us. And the fact that food, it's just we use it all the time for celebrations and all of that. So just being aware of that. Identifying your needs and wants. So if you're a parent and a woman, you're used to taking care of everyone else's needs above your own, but what do you need and what do you want? And sometimes it's hard to answer that. But even if you started with what I don't want, at least then maybe there's some things that you can eliminate from your life that you're doing or participating in or whatever, that you could potentially eliminate and then make space for something else to come in. So losing weight is not hard. The hard part is to learn to care for yourself, learn that you have value, you have needs and wants, and get them fulfilled in a like non-food way. Um, and it's not about cheating, because people say that to you, like, oh, I have a cheat day. Just say you're choosing. I'm choosing this. I'm not cheating. I'm just gonna choose to have this brownie that my daughter baked. And she has like a 3-bite rule. I don't know if I kind of went past that, where you take 3 bites of something that's really rich and that's it. That's all you need. And I kind of love that. I don't think I've ever heard that. Um, why not just take a little bit? You don't need a whole massive piece of cheesecake. You could have a little bit. So I used to do that back when I ate gluten. I wouldn't get a donut, but sometimes I would just want like a little taste. So I'd get 1 Timbit, and I think they thought I was kind of cuckoo cuckoo. I just wanted the little taste, that's probably less than 3 bites. So any hoozle, obviously she went into way more depth. I'm not, she has like a master's in nutrition science or something. So like she knows her stuff. But I guess my point is that those things that I mentioned were really, really helpful to me. And I feel like it's sustainable. It's a way I can live. It's a way that feels really good to me. Eating more vegetables feels good to me. My body is thanking me for eating more vegetables. I think probably everyone could, she says minimum 4 cups of vegetables a day. I'm sure everyone could add more vegetables. Um, so yeah. And then I'll link her information. A couple more things. Be consistent with loving yourself. Oh, I love this. Straighten your crown and move on. So like if you treated yourself like a queen or like Beyonce, like, how would you treat yourself if you were the queen? Treat yourself like that. Um, and then, yeah, I'll link her information if you have any questions for me about it. I don't know if I'll go on and on about a weight loss journey here, but potentially maybe I'll do like a monthly check-in. Um, because I'm looking forward to just feeling better in my body. So I hope this was helpful. If you like this podcast, please rate, review, and share it with someone that you think would benefit from this. Take care.